Most people believe that finding meaning in life is a grand, elusive quest. They imagine it involves monumental achievements or profound spiritual awakenings. This belief system often leads to a paralyzing sense of inadequacy. When you feel like you're not living up to some imagined ideal, the search for purpose becomes a source of anxiety, not inspiration. The harsh reality is that many individuals spend their entire lives chasing a definition of purpose that is fundamentally flawed. They look outward for validation and external markers of success, completely missing the internal compass that guides genuine fulfillment. This external focus creates a dependency on circumstances, leaving them vulnerable to disappointment and disillusionment when life inevitably presents challenges. Consider the common narrative of the successful entrepreneur. We're told they found their purpose in building an empire, but peel back the layers, and you'll often find a story of immense personal sacrifice, burnout, and a lingering emptiness. The external success doesn't automatically translate to internal peace or a deep sense of meaning. This disconnect is a widespread phenomenon, contributing to the pervasive feeling of being lost. The scientific literature echoes this sentiment, highlighting a critical distinction between feeling happy and feeling that your life has meaning. Happiness is often fleeting, tied to immediate pleasures and positive experiences. Meaning, however, is a more enduring construct, rooted in a sense of belonging, contribution, and personal growth. Many people mistakenly equate the two, leading them to chase happiness and then wonder why they still feel unfulfilled. We've been conditioned to believe that purpose is something you discover, like a hidden treasure. This passive approach sets you up for disappointment. The truth is, purpose is something you cultivate, an active process of engagement with the world and with yourself. It requires intentionality and a willingness to explore your inner landscape, not just scan the external horizon. This creates a profound paradox. The more desperately you search for meaning as an external reward, the more it seems to elude you. It's like trying to catch smoke. The harder you grasp, the faster it dissipates. This futile pursuit leaves millions feeling adrift, questioning their worth and their place in the world. They see others seemingly living purposeful lives and wonder what secret they possess. The scientific investigation into quality of life, happiness, and meaning in life, conducted by Ventegot and colleagues in 2003, sheds significant light on this dilemma. Their work identified that a primary driver of a meaningful life isn't external achievement, but an internal orientation towards growth and contribution. They observed that individuals who felt their lives had purpose were those who actively engaged with challenges and sought to make a positive impact, however small. This research suggests that the traditional pursuit of happiness through pleasure-seeking activities often fails to deliver lasting fulfillment. While enjoyable in the moment, these experiences do not build the robust foundation of meaning that sustains us through difficult times. The pursuit of comfort and ease can, ironically, lead to a life devoid of deeper significance. The study highlighted a crucial element: the perception of personal growth. When individuals believe they are developing, learning, and evolving, their sense of purpose deepens. This growth isn't always about acquiring new skills. It can be about developing resilience, empathy, or a more profound understanding of oneself and others. This internal development is a powerful engine for meaning. The authors also emphasized the importance of a sense of belonging and connection. Humans are social creatures, and our lives gain significance when we feel part of something larger than ourselves. This can be through family, community, or shared endeavors. Isolation and a lack of connection are significant contributors to feelings of meaninglessness. The common mistake people make is waiting for inspiration to strike before taking action. They believe purpose will reveal itself in a moment of clarity. This waiting game is a trap. Purpose is forged in the crucible of action, through consistent effort and engagement with life's opportunities and challenges. Another significant error is the tendency to compare oneself to others. Social media, in particular, presents curated highlight reels of other people's lives, often leading to feelings of inadequacy. This constant comparison distracts from your own unique journey and the authentic contributions you are capable of making. Your path to purpose is individual and cannot be replicated. Furthermore, many individuals fall into the trap of believing that purpose must be a singular, grand calling. They overlook the fact that purpose can be multifaceted and evolve over time. It can be found in the daily acts of kindness, in the dedication to one's craft, or in the nurturing of relationships. This restrictive definition of purpose unnecessarily limits its potential. The scientific findings suggest a different approach entirely. Instead of searching for a preordained purpose, we should focus on cultivating a purposeful orientation towards life. This involves actively seeking opportunities for growth, contribution, and connection. It means embracing challenges as catalysts for development rather than obstacles to be avoided. The researchers observed that individuals who reported high levels of life satisfaction and meaning consistently demonstrated a proactive engagement with their experiences. They didn't shy away from difficulties. They saw them as opportunities to learn and grow. This reframing of challenges is a cornerstone of a purposeful life. Imagine a seed. It doesn't sit in the ground waiting to become a tree. It actively pushes through the soil, seeking sunlight and water. It faces resistance from the earth, but this resistance strengthens its roots and propels its growth. Our journey towards purpose is much the same. The work by Ventegat and his team revealed that the perception of competence and efficacy plays a vital role. When individuals feel capable of making a difference, even in small ways, their sense of purpose is reinforced. This feeling of efficacy is built through taking action and experiencing the positive outcomes of those actions. This leads us to a crucial realization. Purpose is not found, it is built. It is constructed through the choices we make, the actions we take, and the mindset we adopt. The idea that purpose is a destination rather than a journey is a significant impediment to experiencing a meaningful life. The scientific data strongly indicates that focusing solely on happiness without considering meaning leads to a superficial existence. While happiness is desirable, it is often a byproduct of living a meaningful life, not the primary goal. Chasing happiness directly can be like chasing a butterfly. It's elusive and fleeting. The research points to a fundamental misunderstanding of human motivation. We are not simply pleasure-seeking beings. We have a deep-seated need for significance, for a sense that our lives matter. This need is often unmet when we prioritize fleeting pleasures over enduring values and contributions. The concept of quality of life, as defined by the researchers, encompasses more than just material possessions or absence of illness. It includes psychological well-being, social connections, and a sense of personal fulfillment. Meaning in life is presented as a core component of this broader quality of life. Consider the story of Elena, a woman in her late 60s. After retiring from a long career, she felt a profound sense of emptiness. Her days were unstructured, and she no longer felt needed. She had always believed that her purpose was tied to her job, and without it, she felt lost. Elena's initial approach was to try and recreate the structure of her work life. She joined several committees and took on volunteer roles that were administrative in nature, similar to her previous job. While she was busy, she still felt a hollowness. It wasn't until she stumbled upon a community garden project that something shifted. She started by simply helping to weed, then she learned about planting and harvesting. She found immense satisfaction in nurturing plants from tiny seeds into vibrant produce. More importantly, she began connecting with other gardeners, sharing tips and stories. She discovered a new sense of purpose in contributing to the community's food supply and in the shared experience of creation. Alina's story illustrates the research findings perfectly. Her initial attempts to find purpose were misdirected, focusing on external structure rather than internal engagement. It was through hands-on contribution and connection that she rediscovered meaning. Her sense of competence grew as she learned new skills, and her feeling of belonging deepened through her interactions with others. The Ventigat study observed that individuals who actively engaged in activities that promoted personal growth and contribution reported higher levels of life satisfaction. This wasn't about grand gestures. It was about consistent effort and a willingness to learn and evolve. The impact of these small, consistent actions is profound over time. The science suggests that a focus on meaning provides a buffer against life's inevitable adversities. When you have a strong sense of purpose, challenges are viewed as opportunities for growth, not as insurmountable obstacles. This mental framework is crucial for resilience and long-term well-being. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found when you stop searching for it directly. When you shift your focus from "what is my purpose?" to "how can I contribute and grow today?" meaning naturally emerges. This subtle but powerful shift in perspective is transformative. The researchers identified that a key differentiator between happy individuals and those who experience deep life satisfaction was the presence of meaning. Happiness can be a transient state, influenced by external factors. Meaning, however, is an internal anchor that provides stability and direction, regardless of external circumstances. This scientific insight challenges the common societal narrative that equates success with happiness and happiness with purpose. The Ventigat study suggests a more nuanced understanding, where purpose is the bedrock upon which true fulfillment is built. Without this foundation, even abundant happiness can feel shallow and temporary. Consider the feeling of being stuck. You believe you can no longer improve or make a difference. This is precisely the point where the search for purpose becomes most critical, and yet often most difficult. The very feeling of stagnation can be a catalyst for a deeper exploration. The scientific literature on quality of life emphasizes that a static existence is detrimental to well-being. Humans are wired for growth and development. When this drive is suppressed or ignored, feelings of emptiness and meaninglessness can arise. This is not a sign of personal failure, but a natural consequence of neglecting a fundamental human need. The research highlights that the absence of meaning is a significant predictor of psychological distress. When life feels devoid of purpose, individuals are more susceptible to depression, anxiety, and a general sense of hopelessness. This underscores the vital importance of cultivating a sense of meaning in our lives. The study by Ventigat et al. Provides empirical evidence that actively pursuing meaning leads to a more robust and enduring sense of well-being than passively seeking happiness. This is a critical distinction for anyone feeling lost or unfulfilled. It reframes the entire approach to personal development. The scientific evidence suggests that the most effective way to cultivate meaning is through engagement. This engagement can take many forms: learning new things, helping others, creating something, or striving towards a valued goal. The key is active participation in life, rather than passive observation. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found in the service of others. When we focus on contributing to something larger than ourselves, our own lives gain a profound sense of significance. This selfless orientation is a powerful antidote to self-absorption and existential angst. The research points to the fact that our perception of our own growth is a critical factor in experiencing meaning. When we believe we are capable of evolving and improving, our sense of purpose is strengthened. This belief in our own potential is a powerful driver of fulfillment. The study by Ventigat and colleagues found that individuals who reported a strong sense of meaning in life were more likely to experience positive emotions, have better physical health, and maintain stronger social relationships. This demonstrates the far-reaching impact of living a purposeful life. The science indicates that the pursuit of happiness alone can be a treadmill. You keep running, but you never quite reach the destination. Meaning, on the other hand, is like building a sturdy house. It takes effort, but the result is a stable, enduring structure that provides shelter and security. The researchers observed that a lack of meaning is often associated with a feeling of disconnection. When individuals feel isolated or estranged from others, their sense of purpose diminishes. This highlights the importance of fostering strong social bonds and a sense of community. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found in the struggles, not in the triumphs. The challenges we overcome, the difficulties we navigate, are the very experiences that forge our character and deepen our sense of meaning. These are the moments where we discover our true strength and resilience. The scientific findings are clear. A life without meaning is a life lacking its most essential ingredient. While happiness is a welcome companion, it is meaning that provides the enduring substance and direction that truly nerves the human spirit. The quest for purpose is not an optional pursuit. It is a fundamental human need. The Ventigat study emphasizes that the perception of personal growth is directly linked to the experience of meaning. When you feel you are learning, evolving, and becoming a better version of yourself, your life naturally feels more purposeful. This internal development is a powerful engine for fulfillment. The science suggests that the most effective way to combat feelings of meaninglessness is to actively engage in activities that align with your values and that contribute to something beyond yourself. This can be as simple as offering a listening ear to a friend or as complex as dedicating yourself to a cause. The key is intentional action. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found when you are least expecting it, in the quiet moments of contribution and connection. It is not a lightning bolt of inspiration, but a gradual unfolding that occurs through consistent engagement with life. The more you give, the more you receive in terms of meaning. The scientific data from Ventigat et al. Provides a compelling argument for shifting our focus from the pursuit of happiness to the cultivation of meaning. This subtle but profound change in perspective can unlock a more fulfilling and resilient existence. The evidence is undeniable. Meaning is the bedrock of a life well lived. The researchers observed that individuals who reported high levels of meaning in life were more resilient in the face of adversity. They were better able to bounce back from setbacks and maintain a positive outlook, even during difficult times. This resilience is a direct consequence of having a strong internal compass. The science suggests that the feeling of being stuck, of believing you can no longer improve, is often a sign that you have become disconnected from your core values and your capacity for growth. It is an invitation to reevaluate your engagement with life and to seek new avenues for contribution and development. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found when you are serving others. When your focus shifts from your own needs and desires to the needs of those around you, your life gains a profound sense of significance. This outward orientation is a powerful pathway to fulfillment. The Ventigat study highlights that a sense of personal growth is intrinsically linked to the experience of meaning. When you believe you are developing, learning, and evolving, your life naturally feels more purposeful. This internal transformation is a key component of a life well lived. The scientific evidence strongly suggests that the most effective way to cultivate meaning is through consistent, intentional action. It is about showing up, engaging with the world, and contributing in ways that are authentic to you. The impact of these actions, however small, accumulates over time. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found in the very challenges that seem to hold you back. These difficulties are not obstacles to your purpose. They are the raw material from which it is forged. By embracing them, you unlock your potential for growth and meaning. The research by Ventigat and colleagues provides a clear roadmap for navigating the complexities of life's meaning. It moves beyond simplistic notions of happiness and offers a more robust, enduring framework for personal fulfillment. The science is a powerful guide for anyone seeking a life of purpose. The study found that individuals who actively sought to understand their values and align their actions with those values reported higher levels of meaning. This self-awareness and intentionality are crucial for building a life of purpose. It's about knowing what truly matters to you and then living in accordance with that knowledge. The science suggests that the feeling of stagnation, the belief that you can no longer improve, is often a symptom of a lack of engagement. When you stop actively seeking new experiences and opportunities for growth, life can begin to feel static and devoid of purpose. This is a signal to re-engage. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found when you are least focused on yourself. When your attention is directed outwards, towards contributing and connecting, your own life gains a profound sense of significance. This selfless orientation is a powerful engine for fulfillment. The Ventigat study emphasizes that a sense of competence and efficacy is directly linked to the experience of meaning. When you feel capable of making a difference, even in small ways, your life naturally feels more purposeful. This belief in your own ability to impact the world is crucial. The scientific evidence strongly suggests that the most effective way to cultivate meaning is through consistent effort and a willingness to learn and grow. It is about embracing the journey of development, rather than fixating on a final destination. The process itself is where purpose is found. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found in the quiet dedication to a task, in the patient pursuit of a skill, or in the unwavering commitment to a relationship. It is not always found in grand gestures, but in the steady, consistent application of your energies towards something you value. The research by Ventigat et al. Offers a profound insight into human flourishing. It clearly indicates that a life rich in meaning is not a matter of luck or circumstance, but a deliberate cultivation of growth, contribution, and connection. The science provides the blueprint for a life that truly matters. The study found that individuals who reported a strong sense of meaning were more likely to experience positive emotions and have a greater sense of overall well-being. This connection between meaning and happiness is undeniable, but meaning provides the deeper, more enduring foundation. The science suggests that the feeling of being stuck, of believing you can no longer improve, is often a sign that you have become complacent. It is a signal to step outside your comfort zone, to embrace new challenges, and to reignite your capacity for growth. This is where true purpose begins to emerge. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found when you are giving more than you receive. When your focus is on contributing your talents and energies to the world, your own life gains a profound sense of significance. This outward flow of energy is a powerful source of meaning. The Ventigat study emphasizes that a sense of personal growth is intrinsically linked to the experience of meaning. When you feel you are developing, learning, and evolving, your life naturally feels more purposeful. This internal journey of becoming is where true fulfillment resides. The scientific evidence strongly suggests that the most effective way to cultivate meaning is through consistent, intentional engagement with life's opportunities. It is about actively participating, learning from your experiences, and striving to make a positive impact, however small. The cumulative effect is profound. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found in the quiet moments of service, in the selfless act of kindness, or in the patient nurturing of a relationship. It is not always found in grand pronouncements, but in the consistent, everyday actions that demonstrate your commitment to something greater than yourself. The research by Ventigat et al. Provides a compelling case for prioritizing meaning in our lives. It moves beyond the superficial pursuit of happiness and offers a more profound and enduring pathway to fulfillment. The science is a powerful call to action for anyone seeking a life of true significance. The study found that individuals who reported a strong sense of meaning were more resilient in the face of adversity and experienced a greater sense of overall life satisfaction. This demonstrates that meaning is not just a desirable aspect of life, but a fundamental requirement for a well-lived existence. The science suggests that the feeling of stagnation, the belief that you can no longer improve, is often a sign that you have become disconnected from your inner drive for growth. It is an invitation to reignite that drive by seeking out new challenges, learning new skills, and actively engaging with the world around you. This is the fertile ground for purpose. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found when you are least expecting it, in the quiet moments of contribution and connection. It is not a sudden revelation, but a gradual unfolding that occurs through consistent engagement with life. The more you give, the more you discover about your own capacity for meaning. The Ventigat study emphasizes that a sense of personal growth is intrinsically linked to the experience of meaning. When you feel you are developing, learning, and evolving, your life naturally feels more purposeful. This internal journey of becoming is where true fulfillment resides. The scientific evidence strongly suggests that the most effective way to cultivate meaning is through consistent, intentional engagement with life's opportunities. It is about actively participating, learning from your experiences, and striving to make a positive impact, however small. The cumulative effect is profound. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found in the quiet moments of service, in the selfless act of kindness, or in the patient nurturing of a relationship. It is not always found in grand pronouncements, but in the consistent, everyday actions that demonstrate your commitment to something greater than yourself. The research by Ventigat et al. Provides a compelling case for prioritizing meaning in our lives. It moves beyond the superficial pursuit of happiness and offers a more profound and enduring pathway to fulfillment. The science is a powerful call to action for anyone seeking a life of true significance. The study found that individuals who reported a strong sense of meaning were more resilient in the face of adversity and experienced a greater sense of overall life satisfaction. This demonstrates that meaning is not just a desirable aspect of life, but a fundamental requirement for a well-lived existence. The science suggests that the feeling of stagnation, the belief that you can no longer improve, is often a sign that you have become disconnected from your inner drive for growth. It is an invitation to reignite that drive by seeking out new challenges, learning new skills, and actively engaging with the world around you. This is the fertile ground for purpose. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found when you are least expecting it, in the quiet moments of contribution and connection. It is not a sudden revelation, but a gradual unfolding that occurs through consistent engagement with life. The more you give, the more you discover about your own capacity for meaning. The Ventigat study emphasizes that a sense of personal growth is intrinsically linked to the experience of meaning. When you feel you are developing, learning, and evolving, your life naturally feels more purposeful. This internal journey of becoming is where true fulfillment resides. The scientific evidence strongly suggests that the most effective way to cultivate meaning is through consistent, intentional engagement with life's opportunities. It is about actively participating, learning from your experiences, and striving to make a positive impact, however small. The cumulative effect is profound. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found in the quiet moments of service, in the selfless act of kindness, or in the patient nurturing of a relationship. It is not always found in grand pronouncements, but in the consistent, everyday actions that demonstrate your commitment to something greater than yourself. The research by Ventigat et al. Provides a compelling case for prioritizing meaning in our lives. It moves beyond the superficial pursuit of happiness and offers a more profound and enduring pathway to fulfillment. The science is a powerful call to action for anyone seeking a life of true significance. The study found that individuals who reported a strong sense of meaning were more resilient in the face of adversity and experienced a greater sense of overall life satisfaction. This demonstrates that meaning is not just a desirable aspect of life, but a fundamental requirement for a well-lived existence. The science suggests that the feeling of stagnation, the belief that you can no longer improve, is often a sign that you have become disconnected from your inner drive for growth. It is an invitation to reignite that drive by seeking out new challenges, learning new skills, and actively engaging with the world around you. This is the fertile ground for purpose. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found when you are least expecting it, in the quiet moments of contribution and connection. It is not a sudden revelation, but a gradual unfolding that occurs through consistent engagement with life. The more you give, the more you discover about your own capacity for meaning. The Ventigat study emphasizes that a sense of personal growth is intrinsically linked to the experience of meaning. When you feel you are developing, learning, and evolving, your life naturally feels more purposeful. This internal journey of becoming is where true fulfillment resides. The scientific evidence strongly suggests that the most effective way to cultivate meaning is through consistent, intentional engagement with life's opportunities. It is about actively participating, learning from your experiences, and striving to make a positive impact, however small. The cumulative effect is profound. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found in the quiet moments of service, in the selfless act of kindness, or in the patient nurturing of a relationship. It is not always found in grand pronouncements, but in the consistent, everyday actions that demonstrate your commitment to something greater than yourself. The research by Ventigat et al. Provides a compelling case for prioritizing meaning in our lives. It moves beyond the superficial pursuit of happiness and offers a more profound and enduring pathway to fulfillment. The science is a powerful call to action for anyone seeking a life of true significance. The study found that individuals who reported a strong sense of meaning were more resilient in the face of adversity and experienced a greater sense of overall life satisfaction. This demonstrates that meaning is not just a desirable aspect of life, but a fundamental requirement for a well-lived existence. The science suggests that the feeling of stagnation, the belief that you can no longer improve, is often a sign that you have become disconnected from your inner drive for growth. It is an invitation to reignite that drive by seeking out new challenges, learning new skills, and actively engaging with the world around you. This is the fertile ground for purpose. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found when you are least expecting it, in the quiet moments of contribution and connection. It is not a sudden revelation, but a gradual unfolding that occurs through consistent engagement with life. The more you give, the more you discover about your own capacity for meaning. The Ventigat study emphasizes that a sense of personal growth is intrinsically linked to the experience of meaning. When you feel you are developing, learning, and evolving, your life naturally feels more purposeful. This internal journey of becoming is where true fulfillment resides. The scientific evidence strongly suggests that the most effective way to cultivate meaning is through consistent, intentional engagement with life's opportunities. It is about actively participating, learning from your experiences, and striving to make a positive impact, however small. The cumulative effect is profound. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found in the quiet moments of service, in the selfless act of kindness, or in the patient nurturing of a relationship. It is not always found in grand pronouncements, but in the consistent, everyday actions that demonstrate your commitment to something greater than yourself. The research by Ventigat et al. Provides a compelling case for prioritizing meaning in our lives. It moves beyond the superficial pursuit of happiness and offers a more profound and enduring pathway to fulfillment. The science is a powerful call to action for anyone seeking a life of true significance. The study found that individuals who reported a strong sense of meaning were more resilient in the face of adversity and experienced a greater sense of overall life satisfaction. This demonstrates that meaning is not just a desirable aspect of life, but a fundamental requirement for a well-lived existence. The science suggests that the feeling of stagnation, the belief that you can no longer improve, is often a sign that you have become disconnected from your inner drive for growth. It is an invitation to reignite that drive by seeking out new challenges, learning new skills, and actively engaging with the world around you. This is the fertile ground for purpose. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found when you are least expecting it, in the quiet moments of contribution and connection. It is not a sudden revelation, but a gradual unfolding that occurs through consistent engagement with life. The more you give, the more you discover about your own capacity for meaning. The Ventigat study emphasizes that a sense of personal growth is intrinsically linked to the experience of meaning. When you feel you are developing, learning, and evolving, your life naturally feels more purposeful. This internal journey of becoming is where true fulfillment resides. The scientific evidence strongly suggests that the feeling of stagnation, the belief that you can no longer improve, is often a sign that you have become disconnected from your inner drive for growth. It is an invitation to reignite that drive by seeking out new challenges, learning new skills, and actively engaging with the world around you. This is the fertile ground for purpose. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found when you are least expecting it, in the quiet moments of contribution and connection. It is not a sudden revelation, but a gradual unfolding that occurs through consistent engagement with life. The more you give, the more you discover about your own capacity for meaning. The Ventigat study emphasizes that a sense of personal growth is intrinsically linked to the experience of meaning. When you feel you are developing, learning, and evolving, your life naturally feels more purposeful. This internal journey of becoming is where true fulfillment resides. The scientific evidence strongly suggests that the most effective way to cultivate meaning is through consistent, intentional engagement with life's opportunities. It is about actively participating, learning from your experiences, and striving to make a positive impact, however small. The cumulative effect is profound. The paradox of purpose is that it is often found in the quiet moments of service, in the selfless act of kindness, or in the patient nurturing of a relationship. It is not always found in grand pronouncements, but in the consistent, everyday actions that demonstrate your commitment to something greater than yourself. The research by Ventigat et al. Provides a compelling case for prioritizing meaning in our lives. It moves beyond the superficial pursuit of happiness and offers a more profound and enduring pathway to fulfillment. The science is a powerful call to action for anyone seeking a life of true significance. The study found that individuals who reported a strong sense of meaning were more resilient in the face of adversity and experienced a greater sense of overall life satisfaction. This demonstrates that meaning is not just a desirable aspect of life, but a fundamental requirement for a well-lived existence. Let me tell you about Alina. She was a woman who had achieved a great deal by her late 50s. She had built a successful small business from the ground up, raised 2 wonderful children, and enjoyed a comfortable life. Yet lately, a quiet dissatisfaction had settled over her like a persistent fog. She found herself scrolling through social media, watching others embark on exciting new adventures and feeling a pang of something akin to envy. But more than envy, it was a sense of finality. The thought would creep in uninvited. What else is there? She felt like she had reached a plateau, that the best years of learning and growing were behind her. Her business, while stable, felt predictable. Her hobbies, once a source of joy, now seemed to offer diminishing returns. She tried a new pottery class but found herself comparing her novice attempts to the work of seasoned artists, feeling inadequate. She even signed up for a language app, but the initial enthusiasm quickly waned, replaced by the familiar feeling of "I'm just not good at this anymore." This wasn't about a lack of accomplishment. It was about a perceived lack of future growth. The very idea of trying something new felt exhausting, like pushing against an immovable wall. She tried to explain it to her husband, a pragmatic man who encouraged her to simply enjoy her successes. But he didn't quite grasp the internal shift, the subtle but profound feeling that the wellspring of her own potential had run dry. She started to withdraw, finding solace in routine rather than exploration. This stagnation, this quiet resignation, was precisely the state that the Ventigot study points to as a detractor from a meaningful life. It's that subtle voice whispering that you've learned all you can, achieved all you will. One crisp autumn afternoon, while browsing a local bookstore, Elena stumbled upon a small, unassuming book titled The Art of Urban Foraging. Intrigued by the title, she opened it and began to read about identifying edible plants growing wild in city parks and forgotten corners. It seemed so unconventional. Not a business strategy, not a self-improvement seminar, but a practical, hands-on exploration of the overlooked natural world right outside her door. A tiny spark flickered within her. It was so far removed from her usual sphere of expertise, so utterly non-essential that it held a strange allure. She bought the book, not with any grand expectation, but with a quiet curiosity. Her initial forays were tentative. She'd walk through the park, book in hand, feeling a bit silly, trying to distinguish a common dandelion from a poisonous lookalike. She made mistakes, of course. She'd identify a plant incorrectly or overlook something obvious, and that old familiar feeling of inadequacy would resurface. "See," she'd tell herself, "you're not cut out for this either. You're too old to learn new tricks." But then she'd remember the Ventigot study's emphasis on personal growth being linked to meaning. This wasn't about professional success or social validation. This was purely for her. She decided to reframe her approach. Instead of aiming for mastery, she focused on the process of discovery. She started taking photographs of the plants she found, researching them later, and making notes about their characteristics and potential uses. She learned about the history of foraging, the traditional knowledge passed down through generations. Her husband initially found it amusing, her new hobby. He'd tease her about her wild salad experiments. But as Elena's enthusiasm grew, so did his interest. She started bringing home small samples of wild greens, identifying them with newfound confidence and incorporating them into their meals. The taste was different, vibrant, connected to the earth in a way that store-bought produce rarely was. Her initial attempts at identifying plants were clumsy, marked by uncertainty. She'd spend an hour in the park, only to come home with a few common weeds she could have identified without the book. The urge to give up, to retreat to the comfort of the known, was strong. She'd think about the language app, the pottery class, and the familiar sting of not being immediately proficient. But this felt different. There was no pressure to perform, no external benchmark for success. The only metric was her own growing understanding, her own quiet satisfaction in deciphering nature's subtle language. She started to notice things she'd never seen before: the specific patterns of moss on a brick wall, the tiny wildflowers pushing through cracks in the pavement, the way sunlight filtered through the leaves of an ancient oak. Her walks became less about a specific task and more about an immersive experience. She discovered that the common purslane, which she'd always dismissed as a weed, was actually packed with omega-3 fatty acids. She learned that the humble chickweed, often found in damp corners, had a surprising peppery flavor. The measurable result wasn't a quantifiable increase in profit or a promotion. It was far more profound. Elena found that her mind felt sharper, more engaged. The fog of stagnation began to lift, replaced by a gentle curiosity. She started looking forward to her foraging walks, not as a chore, but as an adventure. She joined an online community of urban foragers, sharing her discoveries and learning from others. She realized that her initial belief that she could no longer improve was a self-imposed limitation. The mechanism at play here, the reason why Elena's simple act of urban foraging had such a significant impact, is something I like to think of as the curiosity compass. Imagine your brain as a vast, intricate landscape. For years, you've been traveling on well-worn paths, routes you know intimately. These paths are efficient, comfortable, and predictable. They lead you to familiar destinations. But when you stop exploring, when you believe you've seen all there is to see on those paths, the landscape starts to feel smaller, less vibrant. The curiosity compass is a metaphorical instrument that doesn't point north, south, east, or west. Instead, it points toward the unknown, the novel, the slightly challenging. When you activate this compass, you begin to forge new pathways through that mental landscape. Each new observation, each new piece of information you gather is like clearing a bit of underbrush, revealing a fresh vista. The act of learning something new, especially something outside your comfort zone, creates new neural connections. It's like building new roads in your brain. The more you use the curiosity compass, the more intricate and interconnected your mental landscape becomes. This increased connectivity isn't just about accumulating facts. It's about enhancing your cognitive flexibility, your ability to adapt, and your overall sense of vitality. When Elena picked up that book on urban foraging, she wasn't just learning about plants. She was activating her curiosity compass, pointing it towards a brand new direction. She was venturing off the well-worn paths of her business and daily routine and into the wild, untamed territory of the natural world. This act of exploration, however small, began to redraw the map of her mind. The feeling of being stuck, of believing she could no longer improve, was a signal that her curiosity compass had been dormant. The book, the walks, the identification, these were all actions that recalibrated it, setting it towards new horizons. The unexpected twist in Elena's story, the paradox that shifts our understanding, is this. She didn't find a new purpose in the grand, life-altering sense that many people search for. She didn't quit her business to become a professional botanist or start a wild edibles restaurant. Her business continued. Her family life remained much the same. Yet her life felt undeniably more meaningful. The twist is that the pursuit of meaning, as suggested by the Ventigot study, doesn't always require a radical overhaul of your life's direction. It can be found in the subtle, the seemingly insignificant, the everyday. Elena's foraging wasn't about finding a new career. It was about rediscovering a capacity for wonder and learning within herself. The paradox is that by embracing a seemingly trivial pursuit, she unlocked a profound sense of personal growth and, consequently, a deeper meaning in her existing life. She realized that the feeling of no longer being able to improve wasn't a reflection of her actual capabilities, but a symptom of a lack of engagement with the novel. Her previous attempts at learning had been driven by external goals, a new skill for her business, a hobby that looked good on paper. Urban foraging was different. It was purely intrinsic. The drive came from within, from the sheer joy of discovery. This is the unanswered question that often lingers. If meaning is so crucial, why do so many people feel so lost in its pursuit? Elena's story offers a powerful answer. We often look for meaning in the wrong places, seeking grand pronouncements rather than quiet revelations. We believe that a new purpose must be a monumental shift, when in reality, it can be a subtle reorientation of our attention. The mechanism of the curiosity compass explains this. When you activate it, you don't necessarily change your destination, but you fundamentally alter the way you experience the journey. The landscape of your life doesn't need to be completely re-terraformed. Sometimes, all it takes is a new path through the existing terrain to make it feel vast and full of possibility again. Aline's journey wasn't without its moments of doubt. There were days when the rain made foraging impossible or when a particular plant remained stubbornly elusive. On those days, the old voice would whisper, "See, you're wasting your time. You should be doing something productive." But she had learned to recognize these whispers for what they were, echoes of her former limiting beliefs. She had cultivated a new mental framework, one that embraced the process of learning, not just the outcome. She started to see the challenges not as failures, but as opportunities to deepen her understanding. She learned to identify the subtle differences between similar-looking plants, to understand the microclimates that favored certain species, and to appreciate the cyclical nature of the seasons. Her husband, who had initially been amused, became her enthusiastic tasting panel, offering genuine appreciation for the unique flavors she brought to their table. He even started joining her on some of her walks, asking questions and pointing out things he'd never noticed before. This shared experience, this mutual exploration, further deepened their connection and added another layer of meaning to Aline's newfound passion. The scientific evidence from the Ventigot study is clear. A sense of personal growth is inextricably linked to meaning. Aline's decision to engage with urban foraging, a pursuit far removed from her professional life and her previous perceived limitations, was a powerful act of reigniting that sense of growth. She wasn't trying to become someone she wasn't. She was simply allowing herself to become more of who she was by embracing the unknown. The true impact of Aline's story lies in its quiet revolution. It's not a tale of dramatic transformation, but of profound internal shifts. It demonstrates that the belief, "I can no longer improve," is often a self-fulfilling prophecy, a cage we build around ourselves. By choosing to activate her curiosity compass, Aline didn't just learn about edible plants. She learned about her own capacity for growth and wonder. She discovered that meaning isn't a destination to be reached, but a way of traveling. The paradox is that by pursuing something that seemed so small, so insignificant in the grand scheme of things, she found a renewed sense of purpose and vitality in her everyday existence. She didn't need to find a new grand passion. She needed to rekindle her passion for the process of learning itself. This is where the unresolved question lies, the one that keeps us leaning in. If meaning can be found in such simple, unexpected places, what other untapped reservoirs of growth and purpose lie dormant within us? What are the overlooked corners of our own lives, the unconventional paths we haven't dared to explore, that hold the keys to a more meaningful existence? Aline's story is an invitation to consider our own curiosity compasses. Are they pointing towards the familiar, the comfortable, the predictable? Or are they, like Aline's, beginning to quiver, sensing the allure of the unknown, the promise of a new path waiting to be forged? The true measure of a life well lived, as the science suggests, is not just in what we achieve, but in our continuous engagement with the process of becoming. And that process, it turns out, can begin with something as simple as looking a little closer at the world around you and daring to wonder, what else is there? Let me tell you about Mark. Mark was a software engineer, brilliant at his job, but he felt a growing stagnation in his late 30s. He'd achieved a lot, he thought, but the spark was gone. Every day felt like a repeat of the last, a smooth, predictable, and ultimately uninspiring rhythm. He'd mastered his current role, and the thought of learning something entirely new, especially something outside his technical comfort zone, felt overwhelming. He'd look at job postings for more senior positions, and while he knew he could probably do the work, the idea of the learning curve, the potential for mistakes, and the sheer effort involved made him recoil. He'd tell himself, "I'm too old to start over," or "I'm good enough where I am." This mental framework, this quiet resignation, was a subtle but powerful barrier. He was competent, yes, but he was no longer growing. He felt like a finely tuned machine that had stopped evolving, perfectly functional, but no longer capable of surprising itself. He'd watch younger colleagues eagerly dive into new technologies, and a pang of envy mixed with a strange sort of relief would wash over him. Relief that he didn't have to go through that awkward, uncertain phase again. He was comfortable, and in his comfort, he was slowly dimming his own light. He yearned for that feeling of discovery, that thrill of understanding something complex for the first time, but he'd convinced himself that those days were behind him. This belief wasn't born of failure, but of a successful plateau. He had reached a peak, and from his vantage point, the only way forward seemed to be a steep, arduous climb he no longer felt equipped for. One evening, scrolling through social media, he stumbled upon a local community garden initiative looking for volunteers. It was a far cry from lines of code and server architecture. He remembered vaguely a childhood fascination with growing things, a time when his hands were often covered in dirt. He dismissed it immediately. What did he know about gardening? He killed houseplants with alarming regularity. He couldn't imagine himself digging in the soil, dealing with pests, or waiting months for a tomato to ripen. His mind immediately conjured images of him failing spectacularly, looking foolish among experienced gardeners. He pictured himself asking basic questions, revealing his utter ignorance. This internal dialogue was a powerful deterrent, reinforcing his belief that he had nothing new to learn in this domain. He was a programmer, not a horticulturalist. His identity was tied to his professional expertise, and venturing into something so different felt like an admission of inadequacy. He felt a familiar sense of inertia, the comfortable pull of staying within his established boundaries. He closed the app, telling himself it was just a fleeting thought, a momentary distraction from his predictable routine. The idea of stepping outside his established expertise felt like stepping off a cliff, and his ingrained habit was to stay firmly on solid ground. However, something about the garden lingered. A few days later, he found himself walking past a small, vibrant community plot on his way home. He saw people of all ages, laughing, sharing tips, and tending to rows of burgeoning vegetables. There was an energy there, a palpable sense of shared purpose and quiet accomplishment that was strikingly different from the often solitary, screen-focused world he inhabited. He paused, watching a woman carefully stake up a tomato plant, her face alight with concentration and pride. He noticed the diversity of the plants, the vibrant colors, the earthy smell that wafted on the breeze. It was a world entirely alien to him, yet it held a certain undeniable appeal. He remembered Eleanor's story, the one we discussed earlier, about finding meaning in the unexpected. He thought about his own growing sense of ennui, the feeling that his life was becoming a little too predictable, a little too safe. The thought of contributing to something tangible, something that grew and nourished, began to take root. He still felt that flicker of apprehension, that voice whispering about his lack of knowledge, but it was now competing with a growing curiosity. He wondered if perhaps, just perhaps, there was more to him than just his coding skills. He wondered if he could actually learn something new, something completely unrelated to his career. This internal debate was the first crack in his self-imposed limitations. He decided, on a whim, to visit the garden's next open house. He went with a healthy dose of skepticism, fully expecting to feel out of place. To his surprise, he found a welcoming atmosphere. People were eager to share their knowledge, not with judgment, but with a genuine desire to help others learn. He met a retired teacher who explained the importance of soil health with the same passion she might have used to describe Shakespeare. He met a young student who was experimenting with companion planting. No one asked him what he did for a living. They were all there for the same reason, to connect with nature and to grow food. He signed up for a small plot, a decision that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. He chose a spot that seemed relatively empty, figuring he had less to prove there. He bought a few basic tools and a handful of seed packets. The first few weeks were a steep learning curve, as he expected. He planted seeds too deep, watered too much, and battled weeds with a clumsy earnestness. He made mistakes, plenty of them. He accidentally pulled out a young zucchini plant while trying to remove a stubborn dandelion. He mixed up his basil and his mint. He felt that familiar sting of potential embarrassment, but something was different this time. When he confessed his mistake to a neighboring gardener, an older gentleman named George just chuckled. "Happens to the best of us, Mark," he said, his eyes twinkling. "That's how you learn. You just gotta keep at it." This simple act of kindness, this shared acknowledgement of imperfection, was incredibly disarming. It shifted his focus from the fear of failure to the process of learning. He began to approach gardening like he approached a complex coding problem. He researched plant needs, soil types, and pest control methods. He started keeping a small journal, noting what worked and what didn't. He learned to identify the subtle signs of nutrient deficiency in his plants, the telltale wilting that indicated thirst, the telltale yellowing that suggested something else was amiss. He learned to distinguish between a beneficial insect and a harmful one, a skill that required careful observation and a willingness to learn from his mistakes. He found a surprising satisfaction in the tangible results of his efforts. Watching his tiny seeds sprout, unfurl their first leaves, and eventually produce edible fruit felt like a profound accomplishment, a direct reward for his dedication and learning. He discovered a new kind of problem solving, one that involved patience, observation, and an understanding of natural systems. The challenges were different from debugging code, but the underlying process of analysis, experimentation, and iteration was remarkably similar. He was still using his analytical mind, but he was applying it to a completely different set of variables that were alive and responsive in ways that software never could be. The measurable result was not just a harvest of vegetables, though that was certainly rewarding. He found himself more relaxed, more present. The stress of his demanding job seemed to melt away when he was tending his plot. He started sleeping better. His conversations with his wife, Sarah, shifted. Instead of just talking about work or household chores, he'd excitedly share stories about his garden, about the ladybugs he'd found, or the surprisingly sweet taste of his first homegrown cherry tomatoes. Sarah noticed the change. She saw a renewed energy in him, a light in his eyes that had been absent for a while. She even started joining him in the garden on weekends, her initial hesitation giving way to genuine interest. They would work side by side, their conversations flowing easily, punctuated by the rhythm of weeding and watering. This shared activity, this new common ground, brought them closer. He realized that his initial fear of not being good at gardening was a self-imposed limitation. He hadn't failed. He simply hadn't started. He had been so focused on his perceived inability to learn something new that he hadn't even given himself the chance. Now let's talk about how this works, not just in Mark's life, but in the intricate circuitry of our own minds. Imagine your brain is like a vast, interconnected forest. When you repeatedly engage in certain activities like Mark's coding, you create well-worn paths through that forest. These paths become incredibly efficient, making it easy for your thoughts and actions to flow along them. They are the highways of your mental landscape. When Mark thought, "I can no longer improve," he was essentially telling his brain, "Don't bother exploring any new terrain. Stay on these familiar, well-trodden paths." This mental framework, this belief in a fixed capacity, reinforces those existing pathways and actively discourages the formation of new ones. It's like the forest floor becoming so compacted along those highways that seeds can't take root, and new saplings struggled to grow. When Mark decided to volunteer at the community garden, he wasn't just signing up to plant seeds. He was choosing to venture off the beaten path. He was deliberately stepping into the dense, unexplored undergrowth of his mental forest. The initial awkwardness, the fumbling with tools, the mistakes, these were the sounds of him pushing through the thick foliage, breaking new ground. Each time he learned something new about soil pH, or identified a pest, or successfully nurtured a plant, he was essentially clearing a small patch of new territory. He was creating a new, albeit initially faint, trail. This process of actively seeking out novelty and embracing the learning curve is like sunlight finally reaching those dormant seeds on the forest floor. The brain, when presented with new experiences and challenges, actually begins to form new neural connections. This phenomenon is called neuroplasticity, and it's the brain's incredible ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural pathways throughout life. The metaphor I want to offer you, one I believe captures this beautifully, is this. Your brain is not a hard drive that fills up. It is more like a vast, living ecosystem, constantly capable of generating new life and new connections. Think of it like a bioluminescent forest at night. When you are stuck in a fixed mindset, your bioluminescence is concentrated along those few well-worn paths, glowing brightly but limited in scope. However, when you embrace growth and learning, you begin to spark new points of light throughout the entire forest. Each new skill learned, each new experience embraced, ignites a new cluster of bioluminescent fungi or a new glowing insect. These new lights don't just exist in isolation. They begin to connect, forming intricate patterns of illumination, revealing previously unseen parts of the forest. The more you engage in learning, the more these lights flicker to life, and the more vibrant and expansive your inner landscape becomes. Your capacity for understanding and growth is not a finite resource. It is a dynamic, generative process. And here's the unexpected twist, the paradox that shifts our perspective entirely. Mark's journey into gardening wasn't just about him learning a new skill. It was about him rediscovering a fundamental aspect of his own identity that he had suppressed. He had believed that his identity was solely defined by his professional expertise, by the well-worn paths of software engineering. But in venturing into the unfamiliar territory of gardening, he didn't become someone else. He became more of himself. He unearthed a latent capacity for curiosity, for patience, for nurturing, and for connection that had been dormant. The unexpected result was not a new Mark, but a more fully realized Mark. He discovered that his ability to learn and grow wasn't limited to the domain he had previously defined as his own. This is the profound truth. The pursuit of new knowledge and skills, especially in areas outside our comfort zones, doesn't diminish our existing selves. It expands them. It reveals hidden facets of our being, proving that our potential is far greater than our current self-perception. This brings us back to that unresolved question from earlier. If meaning can be found in such simple, unexpected places, what other untapped reservoirs of growth and purpose lie dormant within us? Mark's story suggests that these reservoirs aren't necessarily in grand, ambitious pursuits, but in the willingness to simply begin, to take that first step off the beaten path. The meaning wasn't in becoming a master gardener overnight, but in the process of learning, of experimenting, of connecting with the earth and with others. The true impact of his story is that it challenges the notion that we have a fixed ceiling on our ability to improve. We are not static beings. We are dynamic ecosystems, capable of generating new light, new growth, and new meaning throughout our lives. The question for you as you listen to this is not, what new skill can I acquire? But rather, what new terrain am I willing to explore within myself and in the world around me? What is the first step you can take today to spark a new bioluminescent pathway in your own inner forest? What familiar path are you ready to leave behind, even just for a little while, to see what wonders await in the unexplored undergrowth. The adventure, as Mark discovered, is in the daring to begin. It is so easy to fall into these traps, you know. We convince ourselves that we have reached our peak, that further improvement is simply not possible for us anymore. This is a deeply ingrained belief system for many, a mental framework that can feel incredibly solid, almost like bedrock. We look back at our accomplishments, at the skills we have mastered, and we see a finished product, a completed edifice rather than an ongoing construction project. This perspective can be incredibly limiting, and it often stems from a few common, yet profoundly impactful, mistakes that we unconsciously make. Recognizing these mistakes is the crucial first step towards dismantling this limiting belief and unlocking our continued potential for growth. The first mistake is the illusion of a fixed identity, believing that who you are right now is the complete sum of your being. We tend to define ourselves by our past successes, our current roles, and the labels we have acquired throughout our lives. Think about it. Have you ever introduced yourself by saying, "I am a software engineer," or "I am a parent," or "I am a retiree," and then felt that this label defined the entirety of your capabilities? This is the trap. You become so attached to the persona you have built that you resist anything that challenges it. This resistance can manifest as a subtle, or sometimes not so subtle, aversion to new experiences or learning opportunities that don't align with your established identity. You might dismiss a new hobby as not for me, or a new skill as too difficult, because it doesn't fit into the box you have created for yourself. This is the intellectual equivalent of refusing to paint outside the lines, even when the canvas is vast and inviting. The second mistake is the fear of vulnerability, the deep-seated anxiety that comes with admitting you don't know something, or that you are not good at something new. This fear can be so powerful that it prevents us from even trying. We associate vulnerability with weakness, with inadequacy, and so we avoid situations where we might expose these perceived flaws. Imagine a seasoned musician who has mastered their instrument for decades. They might feel a pang of anxiety when asked to learn a completely different genre of music, not because they lack the musical aptitude, but because they fear sounding like a beginner again, fumbling through unfamiliar notes and rhythms. This fear of not being perfect, of not being instantly proficient, can be a major roadblock to embracing a growth mindset. It's like standing at the edge of a beautiful, unexplored ocean, but being too afraid to dip your toes in the water for fear of encountering a jellyfish or a strong current. The third mistake, and perhaps the most insidious, is the comparison trap, constantly measuring your progress against others rather than against your own past self. Social media often exacerbates this, presenting curated highlight reels of other people's achievements, making it easy to feel like you are falling behind. You see someone effortlessly mastering a new language or launching a successful business, and you immediately think, "Why can't I do that?" This comparison fuels feelings of inadequacy and reinforces the belief that you are no longer capable of significant growth. It's like being in a race where you keep looking at the other runners, focusing on their strides and their speed, instead of focusing on your own pace and your own finish line. This external validation seeking blinds you to your own unique journey and your own inherent potential. You are not in competition with anyone else's timeline or their specific set of talents. Your journey is uniquely yours. So, how do we break free from these limiting patterns? How do we actively cultivate a mindset that embraces ongoing growth, even when we feel like we have reached our limit? It requires a conscious, deliberate shift in our internal dialogue and our external actions. It's about creating a new mental framework, a new way of seeing ourselves and the world around us. The concrete step-by-step method involves a gentle but persistent reprogramming of your beliefs and habits. It's a process, not an overnight transformation, but with consistent application, you will begin to notice a profound difference in your outlook and your capabilities. The first step is to consciously identify and challenge your limiting beliefs. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't do this," or "I'm too old to learn that," pause, ask yourself, is this truly a fact, or is it a story I am telling myself? Most often, it's a story, a narrative woven from past experiences and societal conditioning. Replace that negative thought with a question that opens up possibilities like, what would it take for me to learn this? Or how could I approach this differently? This simple reframing can be incredibly powerful in shifting your perspective. It's like turning down the volume on the inner critic and turning up the volume on the inner explorer. The second step is to embrace the beginner's mind, to actively seek out situations where you are not an expert. This means intentionally stepping outside your comfort zone and engaging with new activities or subjects with a genuine sense of curiosity. Don't worry about being perfect. Focus on the process of learning and discovery. Think of it as giving yourself permission to be a novice, to ask silly questions, and to make mistakes. Every mistake is a learning opportunity, a signpost guiding you towards deeper understanding. It's about cultivating a playful attitude towards learning, where the joy is in the exploration, not just in the destination. The third step is to focus on effort and progress, not just outcomes. When you are learning something new, celebrate the small victories. Did you spend 30 minutes practicing a new skill? That's progress. Did you understand a difficult concept after rereading it? That's progress. Shift your attention from the final polished result to the incremental steps you are taking. This builds momentum and reinforces the belief that you are capable of continuous improvement. It's like tending to a garden. You don't just focus on the final bloom, but on watering the seeds, weeding the soil, and nurturing the seedlings. Each act of care contributes to the eventual beauty. The fourth step is to seek out feedback and mentorship, but with a specific intention. Instead of seeking validation, seek constructive criticism that can help you grow. Ask people you trust for honest feedback on your efforts and be open to hearing it, even if it's difficult. A mentor can provide invaluable guidance and support, offering insights and strategies that you might not discover on your own. Their experience can illuminate your path and accelerate your learning curve. They are not there to judge you, but to guide you. Let me share a couple of quick examples of people who have applied this approach with remarkable results. Consider Sarah, a retired accountant who had spent 40 years meticulously balancing ledgers and managing budgets. When she retired, she felt adrift, believing her professional life was all she had to offer. The idea of learning something new felt daunting. She had always admired painters but convinced herself she had no artistic talent. This was her limiting belief. She decided to challenge it. She enrolled in a beginner's watercolor class, not with the expectation of becoming a master artist, but simply to explore a new interest. She embraced the beginner's mind, allowing herself to make muddy colors and uneven lines. She focused on the effort, attending every class and practicing for an hour each evening, even when her initial attempts looked nothing like the instructor's. She sought feedback from her classmates, asking them what they saw in her work that she might be missing. The results were tangible. Within 6 months, her paintings, while still amateur, showed significant improvement in technique and composition. More importantly, Sarah discovered a newfound sense of purpose and joy. She started selling her smaller pieces at local craft fairs, earning a modest but meaningful income. This wasn't just about painting. It was about proving to herself that she was still capable of learning and creating, even after a long and established career. She rediscovered a part of herself she thought was lost. Then there's David, a software developer in his late 30s who felt stuck in his career. He believed he had reached the pinnacle of his technical abilities and that further advancement would require skills he simply didn't possess. He felt the comparison trap keenly, seeing younger developers quickly picking up new programming languages. His limiting belief was that his learning capacity had plateaued. He decided to take a different approach. Instead of trying to master a completely new coding language, he enrolled in a public speaking workshop. He reasoned that while his technical skills were strong, his ability to communicate complex ideas clearly was an area where he could grow, and it felt less directly competitive with his peers. He embraced the vulnerability of standing in front of a group and speaking, knowing he wouldn't be perfect. He focused on the effort, practicing his presentations repeatedly and actively soliciting feedback from the instructor and his peers. He learned to reframe criticism not as an indictment of his abilities, but as a roadmap for improvement. The measurable results were striking. His presentations at work became more engaging and persuasive. He was asked to lead more team meetings and eventually took on a mentorship role for junior developers. His manager noticed his improved communication and leadership skills, leading to a promotion to a team lead position. David didn't become a better coder overnight, but by addressing a different area of development, he unlocked new opportunities and expanded his sense of professional capability. He proved that growth isn't always linear or confined to your primary expertise. These stories illustrate a powerful truth. The capacity for growth is not a finite resource that depletes with age or experience. It is a dynamic, ever-present potential within each of us. The key is to consciously choose to engage with it, to actively cultivate the habits of mind that foster continuous learning and self-improvement. Now for you, listening to this right now, I want to offer you one single, concrete action you can take today. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Find one small thing that you have been curious about, something you have dismissed as being too difficult or not relevant to your current life. It could be learning a few basic phrases in a new language, trying a simple meditation technique, or even just researching a historical event that has always intrigued you. Commit to spending just 15 minutes today exploring that curiosity. Just 15 minutes, that's it. You don't need to become an expert. You don't need to achieve a grand outcome. The only goal is to take that first small step into new territory. Open a browser tab, pull out a book, or simply jot down some initial thoughts. This act of intentional exploration, however small, is a powerful declaration to yourself that you are still open to learning, still capable of growth. It's the spark that can ignite a new pathway. Remember the forest we talked about earlier, the one filled with interconnected lights. Your potential is like that forest, vast and full of undiscovered wonders. When you believe you can no longer improve, you are essentially deciding to dim those lights, to let parts of your forest remain in darkness. But every time you choose to learn, to explore, to step outside your comfort zone, you are igniting new bioluminescent pathways. You are not just adding to your knowledge. You are expanding your very being. You are becoming more fully yourself, revealing hidden capacities and unearthing new veins of meaning and purpose. The adventure of a growth mindset isn't about reaching a destination. It's about embracing the ongoing, beautiful journey of becoming. So, take that 15 minutes today, choose your small exploration, and let the light begin to spread.